The pace today is all the talk. I guess that was by design?
Yes. I think it's kind of the way we want to play the game is the way you have to practice. And it's not really much different than anything we did last year. All those drills today were the same drills as we used last year. So we let our players know what to expect beforehand, so they had a pretty good idea of what was coming. It was a little harder on the defensemen today, I would say that for sure, because normally we would have 8 guys out on the ice, and there's just 6 today. So it's a little tougher on those guys for sure.
You mentioned the players being all back. Like on paper, it looks like you can sort of build a roster of returning guys, but we saw guys like Suniev, Honzek, and even Gridden have really strong prospects camp. I mean, can they get in the mix for opening night?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. We looked at, nobody gave Honzek a chance in the past, and he did some amazing things through not so much his rookie camp, because if I remember right, everybody was like, where's Honzek? Where's Honzek? But he was unreal during our camp, and he earned an opportunity to start with our team. So without doubt, there is opportunity for guys. So if they can push someone out of a spot, or they can show that they can bring more value that's going to allow our team to win games, I feel like it's our obligation to give them that opportunity. And we had 37 players play at least one game for us last year. And that's a lot. So, when you give players information like that, hopefully it resonates that if I'm at my best when they need it, there's going to be a chance for me to prove to them that I'm an NHL player if you don't happen to be starting the season with our team.
Mackenzie Weegar said that in the 4 years he's been here, one of the things he's proudest of is the culture change that he's seen over the 4 years. Can you describe that change and where the culture is now?
Yeah. I don't know, I think sometimes culture is an overused word for me, but I will, what we've tried to get the guys to recognize is that you can come and work hard, maybe harder than you have before, but enjoy doing it. And in order for that to be able to work, you need your older players to buy into that. So a player like Mackenzie, when you ask him that question, he's the reason why the shift is there. Jonathan, Naz, Bax, Coles, they're the reason. So they are the ones that are setting the right example for how we expect to work on a daily basis, but they're also allowing each other to have a lot of fun with it. So our room is, it's noisy, I would say now, but there is an expectation and a standard for what they expect out of each other, and that is all leadership.
During the off-season, how much time do you spend at the whiteboard trying to come up with different lines and pairings, and how much do you plan to experiment with those throughout the course of training camp and the preseason?
Yeah, too much. But hey, we feel like we have a good idea as to what works, so we will use those combinations, but we also feel like there might be some combinations that we haven't hit on yet. So early in exhibition, I think you'll see some of that for sure, whether it's pairs together on the back end or trying someone different in a certain situation. We have to see if there is some chemistry that we haven't found before.
Do you feel like you have a lot of players who can play up and down in your lineup and different positions as well? I think about Martin Pospisil. We've seen him on the first line, the fourth line, and everywhere in between.
I think up front, that's basically what our team is. Like I think on any given night, a player can be Adam Klapka. He can be bumped up to a first line, play with Naz Kadri, and end up scoring a goal and having a fight and having 3 big hits and being the first star in a game. There's also situations where Adam's going to be a hard straight line, fourth line guy, and I feel like we have a lot of players that fit that mold. Whether you look at Farabee is another guy that he could play top line left wing, he could play on the right side on the fourth line, he could play on the left side on our third line. We have a lot of guys that I think are going to push for spots. So I hear sometimes people say there isn't what competition, like you have all these players returning. Well, competition for young guys to push someone out of a spot, but competition for players to kind of not be satisfied with where they sit in the lineup. And I think because of the, I don't want to say similarity, but we have a lot of forwards that are hardworking guys that have good skill set. It allows us to move a lot of different people around based on how they're playing.
With Zane Parak, it seems as if the narrative is almost that there's no reason for him to go back to junior, and it's almost a given that he's going to be with the Calgary Flames. I guess A, is there any truth to that? And B, what does he have to do to stick around?
Just focus solely on making the team. That's it. Like I mentioned before that I don't think Zane should feel any undue pressure on having to be the savior coming in and all of a sudden changing our team. That's not it at all for Zane. Zane's a really good hockey player, and we're so excited about this guy's future. It's our job as a coaching staff to help him along the way. And if a young man thinks that he's got to satisfy this, and this, no, he doesn't. He's just got to come and play his game. That's it. Play your game. Focus solely on making the Calgary Flames, and then we can work with them along the way and help them with the steps along the way. That's pretty much it. I just, he's a good young guy, and I don't want him to think that he has to do something crazy every time he steps on the ice to make our team or to contribute that way, because that's not the case. Just focus on making our team, and we say that for all of our players.
Might sound like it's silly.
From a big injury, what would you like to see from him this year?
Who was that?
Basha, Andrew.
Yeah, the one thing for him, when you notice him play, his feet always move. Like, he is a driver on the ice, so that's a very big thing for him. So finding a way to get his pace back up to a professional level, I think, is important, but continue to do it the way that's made him a successful player and a second-round pick for us. Like, he is a buzzsaw on the ice, and he's always working and always driving his feet. So continue to do what you're doing and work to get yourself back up to the pace. It's not easy missing a year, but he's had a lot of time to recover in the offseason, and I don't even look at any sort of issue with him moving forward. He'll be fine.
The rationale behind putting Coronado on the top line is not surprising or anything like that, but just what prompted you to start him that way this year?
When you look at our lineup, he's our pure goal scorer. So you put your pure goal scorer with one of your main passers and your top center to start with. So there were stretches last year where I liked the way they played together, and there were stretches last year where we didn't. So we'll see what they can do early on this year, but that's pretty much why, Eric. Yeah.
What does the next step for Matt look like this year?
Matt Coronado?
Yeah.
I think similar to my answer to Zane is just keep taking steps along the way. I've said before that I think he's going to be a 25 to 40 goal guy fairly consistently because he's talented and he understands where to go, and he's got a release that allows, you saw today probably in practice how many he was right under the bar. But what I like about him and why I don't worry about him is his work ethic is awesome, and it's just as important for him to be a good checking player as it is to score goals. So he may go through a stretch where he's hitting posts or they're not going in, but he's going to bring so many other things to the team that's going to make him a valuable player for us. And because he's that valuable, he's on the ice more. And when you're on the ice more, eventually you're going to generate more. So for him, it's just you keep working hard, and eventually, things will keep progressing for him nicely.
Knowing that lines are subject to change, having been with Perec early on in camp, what's the thought process with that?
Left-handed, right-handed. I kept our top two pairs together. That was pretty much the gist of it. So nothing more to read into there.
Right, just on Perec, did you get much time to get to know him a little more over the offseason, or how do you approach your relationship with young players in his spot? Yeah,
I was very fortunate. Over the World Championships, Zane was there for a while. Now, the team wasn't very fortunate when we were over there. But for me to really be around Zane for a pretty good period of time got to allow me to know him quite a bit better than when we had him at the end of the year when we were really into it. Right? I didn't necessarily spend as much time as I would have wanted to with him as the year went on last year. But having the opportunity to spend quite a bit more time with him and work with him in Europe, I thought was a very good thing for me, and I hope it's something that allows him to feel a little bit more comfortable about his situation here.